week, the World of Outlaws Late Model Series gets back into high gear with races at Winston and Merrit Raceways, while the World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series conducts a triple header in the Midwest. And the Mr. Dirt Car 358 Modifieds continue to pound their way through the Northeast. This and more next on this week's edition of 4 Wide Weekly. After a week-long hiatus, we'll kick off this week's show with the World of Outlaws Late Model Series as they were back in action in Michigan at Winston Speedway. As the World of Outlaws Late Model Series conducts the 4 wide down the main straightaway, the Captain, Vic Coffey, and Darrell Lanigan would bring the field to green from the front row as Rick Eckert and Tim Fuller would lead the field in row number 2. And it was the Bluegrass Bandit Darrell Lanigan jumping out into the early race lead in the number 29 machine. But Josh Richards, the Rocket, was on the move, trying to make his way to the front of the field here, passing championship contender Rick Eckert on the outside of the speedway. He would next chase down your race leader. Out of corner number 2, Richards uses the high side to take the race lead, looking for his third consecutive World of Outlaws Late Model Series win of the season. Richards in the 1 machine looking very good, making quick work of Lanigan down the back straightaway. Meanwhile, your battle for second began to heat up as well as Brian Burkhofer and Lanigan go at it down the back chute. Burkhofer would eventually grab the position and move on to the runner-up spot. But as the race progressed, nobody had anything for Richards as he would run on to his third consecutive World of Outlaws Late Model Series win of the season, closing in on Rick Eckert for the World of Outlaws Late Model Series Championship. The win was Richards' 7th of the season, tying him with Darrell Lanigan for the most wins on the circuit this season.
I'll tell you what it is. We've had a phenomenal car all year. Rick's been really good and really consistent. You know, we've had a couple of tough breaks, but we're trying to do what we can to try to win races and try to stay up front. It's going to be tough this year, but I think we can pull it off. It just got to keep racing hard.
Burkhofer came across the line in the second spot ahead of Eckert, Lanigan, and Shane Clanton in the top 5. The very next night, the Outlaws moved to Lake City, Michigan, and Merritt Raceway for round number 2 of the weekend, and Brady Smith in the black number 2 brought the field to green. And Smith, he was dominant through this whole event, even putting a lap on your championship point leader Rick Eckert in the middle portion of the event. Josh Richards looking to take advantage in the 1 machine. Here he pulls to the outside of Chubb Frank. With Eckert off the pace, Richards was looking to get every position he could for the championship battle. But up front, it was Brady Smith all night long. The driver from Solon Springs, Wisconsin, was clear and sailing on his way to his first World of Outlaws win of the season and first since Volusia in February of last year. Dennis Erb came home second ahead of Jason Fager, Lanigan, and Richards.
Yeah, I mean, we have never been here before, so, first time coming here is always tough, but got to thank my guys, for all their hard work, and of course my sponsors, my wife, my family. Yeah, it's really a team effort with the 2 crews, so I'm loving it.
With Eckert's lackluster run on Saturday, Richards closes in the championship lead to just 28 markers through Saturday night. The Outlaws next in action Saturday, September 3rd at Tyler County Speedway, then again the next night in Pennsylvania at Roaring Knob Motorsports Complex. We'll be back with more on this week's edition of 4 Wide Weekly.
Dirt racing's most celebrated stars. An electrifying atmosphere. Glory-filled heroics. A spectacle unlike any other. It's the World of Outlaws World Finals. All dirt roads lead to Charlotte as the World of Outlaws Sprint Cars, Late Models, and Super Dirt Big Block Modifieds converge for one mind-blowing weekend. 3-day reserve seat packages, including your free pit pass, are on sale now at CharlotteMotorspeedway.com. November 3rd, 4th, and 5th. The Dirt Track at Charlotte.
Welcome back to this week's edition of 4 Wide Weekly. The World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series was back at it with 3 shows this week, kicking off on Friday night at River City Speedway. And Donnie Schatz was looking to capitalize on his great run at the Knoxville Nationals, but the man proved to be his teammate, the king of the Outlaws, Steve Kinzer. Kinzer and Schatz waged an epic battle throughout the entire event, which the king would eventually prevail, picking up his 6th World of Outlaws Sprint Car win of the season and first since the month of June. Schatz hung on for second. Jason Myers, your championship point leader, in third, ahead of Sammy Swindell and Mark Dobmeyer, who also had a great run at the Nationals a week ago.
Oh, Donnie, he's got to be the best there is out there right now, I tell you. I had to lean on him a time or two. He's such a good teammate. You hate to even do that, but I was pretty hungry. I hadn't had a race haven't won a race for a while and ran really terrible at the Nationals. So we all went home and got our heads together and come back out and had our second quick time of the year. Of course, we went out when the track was pretty good, but like I said, Donnie Schatz is the best there is out there right now.
On Saturday night, the Outlaws returned to Huset Speedway in Brandon, South Dakota, and leading the field to green, Kerry Madsen and Brad Sweet in the Red Bull car number 9. Early on, Sweet would have the advantage, but again it was Kinzer making his moves through the field, pulling to the outside of Mark Dobmeyer, then dipping to the low side of T-Mac, Terry McCarl in car number 55. Kinzer looking for his 7th win of the season and 2nd in a row. After a restart in the middle portion of the race, Kinzer found the outside, then the bottom side of the speedway, going around Lucas Wolf, then to the inside of Brad Sweet. He continues that run out of corner number 4 to take the lead from points leader Jason Myers into corner number 1. Kinzer out in front of the Bass Pro Shops, number 11. Caution on the speedway, though, as Mark Dobmeyer and Kerry Madsen get together. Austin Wheatley involved as well. That would bunch the field up one more time for a final shot at the king, but nobody had anything for the king on this day. Kinzer, the driver out of Bloomington, Indiana, pulls down his 2nd consecutive Outlaws win. Myers came home 2nd ahead of Brad Sweet, Terry McCarl, and Sam Haferteep Jr. Last night, the Outlaws again in competition, this time at Black Hills Speedway in Rapid City, South Dakota, and Donnie Schatz returned to the top of the podium. Kinzer came home with a great run in 2nd ahead of Lucas Wolf, Myers, and Sammy Swindell. Looking at your championship standings, nothing changes at the top, but Kinzer closes in on Schatz, now just 4 points back for the 2nd position. We'll be back with more next, right here on 4 Wide Weekly.
For nearly 4 decades, thousands have gathered at New York State Fairgrounds, awestruck as dirt racing legends race towards immortality. Alex Friesen! At Syracuse, October 5th through 9th is the 40th annual Super Dirt Week.
Danny's in the wall!
Make your plans now for an unforgettable experience. Tickets and remaining campsites on sale now at SuperDirtWeekOnline.com.
Welcome back to this week's edition of 4 Wide Weekly. Friday night at Ransomville Speedway, it was the 27th annual Alex Friesen Summer Nationals. And Stu Friesen right there would go from 18th starting spot. Matt Shepard started 11th. Brett the Jet Hearn went from position number 7, but the man on the pole position was Mr. Small Block himself, Pete Bicknell. 100 laps, $10,000 to the winner here at the Big R. And Bicknell and Todd Burley would bring the 358 Modifieds down to green on Friday night. Burley would jump out into the race lead with Bicknell and Brett Hearn hot on his heels down the back straightaway. Bicknell getting a little antsy here into corner number 3. They make contact, but Burley's able to hold him off down the front chute. Todd Burley in the Pizza Logs 89B looking very comfortable out in front as he races on to his 2nd career win in the Alex Friesen Summer Nationals with $10,000 going into the bank account. Hearn came home 2nd ahead of Bicknell, Chad Brockman, and the Doctor, Danny Johnson. Looking now at the Ransomville track standings, Bicknell leads the way over Burley, Brockman, Scott Kerwin, and Matt Williamson. Ransomville will next be in action this Friday night. The 358 Modifieds were also pounding the dirt on Friday night at Autodrome Granby in Quebec, and it was Bruno LePage in car number 99 pulling out in front of the field here at Granby. Slowly but surely, however, Jan Bussier in the 21 and Steve Bernard in the 54 began to reel in your race leader, LePage, in the 99. Bussier tried the outside once in corner number 2, had to tuck it back in, but later on finds the outside part of the speedway in corner number 3 to take the top spot. Bernard in the 54 would follow through as well later, going around the 99 of LePage into turn 1. And it wouldn't take long for Bernard to chase down Bussier. As they begin to move into lap traffic, Bussier commits himself to the high side. Bernard pulls down low, trying to use the lapper as a pick into corner number 1. And it works out. The lap car moves high, blocking Bussier. Bernard stays low, pulls to the race lead, and eventually the win in car number 54. Bussier would hang on to second over Francois Bernier, David Hebert, and Cale Robidoux. Looking at your Granby standings, Bernier has a 4-point advantage on Hebert. But Hebert leads the Mr. DIRTcar Championship standings by 29 over Martin Waugh. In this week's 4Wide.TV Power Rankings, for the very first time, Steve Kinzer leads the way in the Bass Pro Shops car number 11 after picking up 2 wins this past week. The Rocket Man, Josh Richards, sits in position number 2 after his win at Winston Raceway, picking up his 3rd consecutive victory. Be sure to tune in to next week's edition of 4Wide Weekly as the Super DIRTcar Series Big Block Modifieds hit the high banks of Lebanon Valley. And the World of Outlaws sprint cars return to Canada and Castrol Raceway.